Give me something to talk about. I'm
Welcome and thank you for tuning in. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. This is a local show. We're dedicated to the Salt Lake City market. We're your local advocates for real estate and finance, and we are so thankful that you joined us today. If you missed our show last week, we had Devin Pope on. He's a financial planner with Albion Financial, and we also had Dave Curtis, a local commercial developer, and had a great show. If you missed it last week, feel free to join our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Womack Radio. Womack is WOMACK. Like us on Facebook and join us there, and you can see all our previous shows and links to other exciting information about the real estate and finance market here in Salt Lake City. Again, this is a local show, and we're dedicated to bringing local professionals on to bringing you the timely truths for the Salt Lake City market. Got a very special show planned for you today. We've got Al Rickard, a master home inspector, and David Luna, a local mortgage educator. Both of these gentlemen have years of experience in their trades and are local professionals that are here today to tell you a little bit more about the real estate and finance markets. First, we're going to be speaking with Al. Al, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Thanks. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your family, and a little bit about what you do.
Well, I'm Al Rickard. I'm a certified master inspector. I started a home inspection company about 15 years ago. I have about 30 years in the building and service industry prior to that. We have a family business. Of our 5 certified master inspectors, 3 of them are my sons. My daughter actually runs the business. My 2 granddaughters, one runs the office and one is our marketing director. And then I have some other family members that work in the business too. But basically, we're Utah people. We're dedicated to the philosophies and the culture in Utah. And it's pretty exciting. Our company is called All Points Home Inspections. We also have 2 other small portions of that. One is called Mold and Meth Samplers of Utah. The other one is called API Commercial Assessment Services.
So local, family-run business. Great to have you. That's what this show is all about, is getting local professionals here. Tell me a little bit, what's the difference between a master inspector and just a regular home inspector?
Well, generally a certified master inspector has to meet certain criteria, and one of those is regular continuing education. They have to have been in the industry and as an active inspector for a minimum number of years. I think it's 3 now. Used to be 5. They have to have excelled in not only the way they do their inspections, but their reporting system and the equipment that they're certified to use and the certifications that they have.
So basically, you're the best of the best when it comes to home inspectors.
I jokingly tell people that I'm the second best home inspector in Utah.
Who's the first?
Ask any other home inspector.
What's some of the equipment that you use for your home inspections?
Well, surprisingly enough, 15 years ago when I first started my home inspection business, it was a completely different business than it is today. You still have to be knowledgeable on buildings and knowledgeable on the components, but it's the new equipment, the infrared cameras, the new moisture meters, the new environmental testing, the electronic devices for testing for radon, mold, the meth testing procedures, the air quality where you can actually tell if the house has cockroach issues or whether it has dust mites or whether the personal hygiene products that you're using are making your house unhealthy. And those are all new phases of testing.
What are some of the things what's included in a basic home inspection, and then what are some of the add-ons that people usually get?
Well, typically in a home inspection, your home inspector will inspect everything from the top of the chimney all the way down to the subfloor in the basement. We jokingly say all points in between because that's our name of our company. But basically, the emphasis is going to be on the roof, the structure, the foundation, any moisture intrusions. Most home inspectors advise on the drainage and the slope of the earth around your house, because most of the homes in Utah, a good share of them, have basements, and so moisture intrusion is a occasional issue if those things aren't right. It covers all the components within the house, the heating, the plumbing, electrical, and in most cases the appliances. It's basically just top to bottom.
When do you use infrared? Do you use that on all your inspections, or do you only use that when you see a possible moisture intrusion?
We have the option. Some of our clients want a full thermal scan, and we can do that. It's probably a little bit of an overhyped tool, the infrared camera, because
it's not really X-ray.
No, and there are some people out there that say this will tell you if you have mold behind your walls. I'm sorry to tell you, it doesn't tell you if there's mold behind your wall. It tells you if there's active moisture. It also tells you if there's missing insulation. It'll tell you if there's an electrical outlet or switch that is arcing. It'll tell you if there's overheating in an electrical box. It helps you find out if, subfloor heating like hydronic heating and electrical heating, if those elements are all working as they're supposed to. But as far as finding mold, no.
We're talking right now with Al Rickard, Master Home Inspector. We've got to take a quick break, but stay with us. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Al. And also coming up later in the show is our free lunch giveaway. Stay with us, and we will be right back. Welcome back. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday morning at 7 a.m. right here on 860 AM. We've been talking with Al Rickard, Master Home Inspector, local professional with a family-run company. So great to have Al here. We're going to continue our conversation with him. Al does home inspections. If you need a home inspection or have any questions about a home inspection, please call or text 801-674-9995. Text the words Al Rickard to that number, and I will get you in touch with Al. Al, tell us a little bit more about meth and mold testing and even radon testing, maybe some of the misconceptions and some of the other information you come across frequently.
Okay. Well, I talk to people a lot about meth. In fact, I typically call it meth myth, which means I sound like I'm lisping. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of people hear the word meth and they immediately assume that that's a deal killer on the house, that they should not buy that home. It's very, very correctable. In fact, if it's done properly by a proper decontamination specialist, the house is actually healthier than it was prior to the problem with meth.
I've seen and heard of a couple different meth treatments. I don't know if you've heard of the dry fog treatment, and then there's a contractor that'll go in and basically go down to the subfloor and kind of rip everything out. What's your thinking on proper meth treatment?
Well, meth and mold both, there's a new idea that fogging will do the trick. The jury's still out. I work with a major national company that's their specialty is fogging. They have not been able to totally convince me that that's the best way, because when you get especially mold or meth in drywall, it generally penetrates the drywall. Now with meth, there's a leaching solution that you can use, and the fogging has a little bit of that same ability to draw that stuff out of the drywall. On mold, you really can't. You just have to cut out the affected drywall. At least that's the proof that I've seen so far.
As far as the leaching method, is that still a little more affordable treatment than completely going in and gutting all the affected areas with mold or meth?
Yeah, most good meth decontamination people are not going to go in and gut the building. Unfortunately, if the carpeting and the pad, which are very porous items, were there when the meth was being used or manufactured, that pretty much has to go. Draperies generally have to go, but drywall doesn't. Different than mold. You know, if it's been impacted by mold, you generally have to cut out the affected drywall. So the leaching material draws all the harmful chemicals, if you want to call it that, out of the wall. And it takes, typically they do a 3-step process. And so it can be cleaned up very, very well. And when I said it was healthier, it's because the ducts are actually cleaner than they were when the home was brand new. And now I don't necessarily say that I'd like to see people just go out and clean their ducts if they have a meth issue, because most duct cleaners are just going to go in there and blow air around. And when that happens, that actually increases the problem a little bit. So
the leaching and the dry fog, those actually go in, and it sounds like the jury's still out, but supposedly they go in and kill the reactive parts of the meth or mold that's in the duct and drywall.
Kill is a bad word because it doesn't really kill anything. They're already they're an active compound, but they're not alive, quote, quote. Mm-hmm. And so it basically draws them out of the building material. And if after 3 treatments on the leaching system, if they can't get the wall clean, then they remove the drywall.
Now, talk a little bit about just meth use and a meth lab, like maybe the difference in values and maybe the safeness of the homes of just meth use compared to a full-on meth lab.
And again, this is a bit thing where the jury's out a little bit. At what level of meth contamination is the human body harmful? According to the state of Utah, anything over 1.0 micrograms should be cleaned up. But whether it is actually harmful at that level, I know California has done some awesome experiments, and they're saying that it's up around 10, but their state action level is 1.5. So the jury's out a little bit on it. It's mainly the stigma, and most of the time, if it's under 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 10, it is just somebody using it. Rarely will you see a lab. By the way, you don't see the sophisticated labs that we saw 6 or 7 years ago. I walked into one out here in the Glendale area where I couldn't get into the detached garage, but I could see through a little spot on the window that had been covered up, and I could see all the equipment. Today, it's usually in a briefcase or a suitcase. There's also a thing we call picnicking. That's where 4 or 5 people are in the process of making the meth. One will create one ingredient at one home, and the others at a different home, and then they'll all get together to cook. And those are, so your labs, they're not the sophisticated ones you used to see.
Tell us about some of your favorite stories on the job. I understand there's some creepy critters down in crawl spaces and attics that you've maybe run across.
Well, yeah, crawl spaces and attics are always very interesting. Chimneys are kind of interesting. I just recently had one where I was putting a cap that had fallen off the chimney back on, and I heard this growling. It wasn't a cat, but it had eyes kind of like a cat, and it was a family of raccoons. And that's not all that unusual, particularly on the eastern half of Salt Lake, you'll see those in there occasionally.
They like to stay a little toasty in the fireplace. There's
a little ledge in the right above the fireplace. Just makes a great place for them to rest. I went into a property a few years ago, and as I got down in the crawl space, I stuck my light around there, and I counted at least 7 cat carcasses. Oh. And so I made a personal decision at that time that I wasn't sure what killed the cats. And if it killed them, it might kill me. You
don't want to stick around to find out?
I just viewed the crawl space from the opening, or down in the opening, actually, and then I recommended that they have a proper treatment company come in and take care of the carcasses. I had one not very long ago where we went in the crawl space and we could hear this cool sound. It's the sound of a rattlesnake rattling. And so we chose not to enter that crawl space.
Maybe call Terminex or something like that to get rid of that one.
In the attics, I had one that was kind of unique. I went up in the attic, and there were in excess of 1,000 empty booze bottles. Okay? And so somebody in the house evidently had a closet drinking issue, and that attic was just full. I know it wasn't a form of insulation.
How are they throwing them up there?
Whoever it was just opening the attic access and putting them up there because whether it was kids or an adult, but that was rather interesting. We always find hypodermic needles and pipes and drug paraphernalia in a lot of attics.
Sure, you've seen your fair share of things over your years.
Yep.
Well, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show, Al. This is Al Rickard, Master Home Inspector, local Salt Lake City company. If you need to get in touch with Al or if you have any questions for Al, call or text 801-674-9995. You can text the words home inspection, and we'll get you in touch with Al Rickard. Again, that's 801-674-9995. Thanks again, Al.
Thank you very much for allowing me to visit with you. Well, first off, about radon, over the last 4 or 5 years, the way you test for radon levels has changed a great deal. You still have some people out there that use the canisters, and if you can control those and do them properly, they're very accurate. The problem is they don't work very good on a real estate transaction because they are too easy to tamper with. And but there's a new referendum that the state of Utah passed last year that basically says that all parties to a real estate transaction have an obligation to inform their clients about radon and some of the issues that arise from radon. Now, we know that you can tell who has lung cancer caused by radon because of the way it perforates the linings of the lungs. And a little over 20,000 folks every year in the United States pass away from lung cancer caused by radon, directly caused by radon.
That's a pretty big number. Do you know rough percentages or rough numbers for Utah?
I don't know. I know that Utah is about the 15th highest radon levels in our country based on tests.
Thanks again, Al. Pleasure to have you on the show. Our next guest today is David Luna. He's got a great resume. Local Utah guy, has a company here, local real estate and mortgage professional. David, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
I've been in the mortgage industry for 34 years. I've closed over 7,000 loans. I am not a loan officer. You are the expert on the loans. I'm more into the education side, so that's what I do. As all of the laws are changing, what does that mean to loan officers, and what does that mean to their borrowers as well?
Tell me a little bit about yourself, your family, things like that, a little brief bio on yourself.
Okay. Started in Los Angeles, worked for a bank, came up here to Utah, worked for a credit union. I was tagged to be commissioner at the Division of Real Estate. My recent assignment is on Prada, which is the prison relocation, which assignment just ended, where we're going to be moving the prison. Married, 6 kids. They're pretty much all gone. We're working on 9 grandchildren. Just in one word, I'm old.
Old and got your hands full, it sounds like.
Old and have my hands full, that's right.
Enjoying being a grandpa?
Yes, sir.
Very nice. Well, tell me a little bit about this prison assignment. What was that for?
It's potentially a $700 million to $1 billion project with the prison in Draper, and what are we going to do about it? And the citizens, the taxpayers, are footing the bill. How do we get the money back to them? If we move it, where do we move it to? Should we just build on it? If we move it, what other services might be incorporated? For example, the guards driving to the prison, medical personnel. I was talking to law enforcement. Law enforcement may deal with an individual for 30 minutes or an hour, but then when they're in prison, they're there for 5, 10, 15, 30, the rest of their life. So what about geriatric medications? What about additional court dates? What about volunteers? It was so overwhelming, so encompassing. It took months and months and months of deliberation to finally figure out that it really should be moved. And now it's back in the legislature's hands as to where, money, time frame, what do we do with the land, who should develop it, how should it be developed. Oh my goodness, it is fun. It's a major project.
Was this a political affiliation, or what was this for? It sounds like you have your hands in a few different things.
It was Friday before Memorial Day of last year. My phone rang, and an individual, Mike, and you know who you are. Mike called me up and said, "Hello, this is the gentleman. I'm with the governor. He'd like for you to serve on Prada." What do you do when a governor calls you? Say no? So, having been commissioner at DRE, I was on the Oling Walker Housing Trust Fund board, where we're trying to end chronic homelessness for disabled, veterans, homeless. I mean, that was my next assignment, and Prada was just an assignment that ended here just recently. So in the community, still trying to help the community. I've been having fun. It's been a blast.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. We're
Thank you for inviting me.
David Luna. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. We're going to take a break, but stay with us. We'll be right back and continue our conversation with David. And also coming up is our free lunch giveaway and open house segment. Stay with us, and we'll be right back. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. We've got David Luna here with us, all-around local guy, all-around real estate and mortgage expert. Let's continue our conversation. Give us a brief overview of the mortgage market, starting from 2006 to the present.
Wow, talk about a roller coaster ride. Everybody understands we're going through this great recession. We've just ended it. The experts tell us we ended it a few years ago. In 2006, it was real loosey-goosey with subprime, people stating income. Heck, with all these new programs coming out, I thought they would come out with a program called Stated FICO, where you would just state the borrower's credit score and close the loan.
I think there were a few of those.
Well, it was getting there, wasn't it? Stated income, stated assets, no income, no asset, no doc. I think underwriting was very loose.
Have you heard of the Ninja loan?
The Ninja, no income, no job or assets. Oh my goodness, yeah. And so what happens is, in about 2007, Fannie and Freddie got in trouble. September 2008, they were taken over by the federal government. So if we look at it, Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, USDA was all federal government. Where was private industry? Then as the legislature, and I'm talking national, got involved, you had the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act roll out in 2010. And we're seeing now in 2014 what that means. So January 2014, new things went into effect, which your listeners are going to be affected by, which is QM, qualified mortgages, and ATR, the ability to repay. Now we need to make sure that when we do a loan, the borrowers actually have the ability to pay that loan back. We're not looking at the equity to retire the debt. We're not looking at the equity and we're going to foreclose and kick these people out. That's not cool. And so the new changes have gone into effect in 2014 now. That was Reader's Digest of what happened.
Overall, do you think Dodd-Frank was good or bad for consumers?
I speak nationally, okay? This weekend, I'm flying out to Missouri. In 2 weeks, I'm in Texas, right? So as I'm looking at it nationally, was it good or bad? I think underwriting guidelines were very, very loose. Then I think underwriting guidelines got very, very tight. So I changed the batteries on my crystal ball this morning, okay? And I looked into the future. I really think this is good. I think borrowers really are going to be able to qualify, and I think those underwriting guidelines are going to be more loose starting now. You're already seeing those, for example, credit scores drop. They were in the 640s, in the 620s, in the 600s. I tweeted Monday of last week, you're going to see them drop to 550, and then I tweeted again, you're going to see them at 530. Underwriting guidelines are loosening up a little bit. Not so crazy that we were doing the ninja loans again, but I think it's going to be a little bit better for borrowers. I was speaking in Lost Wages, Nevada, with the chief economist of the National Association of Realtors, and I think home appreciation is going to skyrocket over the next 5 years. There's not enough homes on the market. Homes are sitting on for sale less and less, and that inventory is drying up, and builders aren't able to keep up with the demand. So over the next 5 years, we're basically looking at existing inventory, and for those that are staying in their homes, maybe that just refinanced, they're in great shape. For those that have kids that are getting married, like my wife and I, our kids are going to get married here in about 3 weeks. These new families, I would encourage them to get into a home. Prices are just going to continue to increase.
It's a great time to look at buying a home.
They need to go to somebody like you that can help them with a loan.
Or real estate. I actually do. I'm actually a realtor as well.
Now it's perfect timing. Isn't that what you're seeing as well?
It is. Like you were saying, low inventory.
Still great rates.
House prices, rates in the 4s and 3s if you do a 15-year fixed. Great time to buy. There's a lot of youth out there that are looking to be first-time buyers, and it's a great
or even
time to
pent-up
purchase a
demand.
home.
For example, they couldn't sell their home to get into a bigger home because the appreciation wasn't there. We've been seeing appreciation, steadily rise, and now they can actually pay off the loan, get some equity for that down payment for that move-up home that you can help them with.
If you are thinking about selling your home, thinking about buying a home, have a question about a mortgage, please call or text me anytime. Text the word mortgage or home purchase. Just let me know. Get in touch with me, 801-674-9995. I'm the owner of Vintage Lending and Realty, and we're a local company here in Salt Lake City. Love to answer any real estate or mortgage-related questions. Again, that's 801-674-9995. Text the word home or mortgage, and I'll get right back to you and answer any questions that you have. So, David, tell me a little bit more about this CFPB. What does that stand for, and what do they do?
Sure. In the Dodd-Frank Act, and instead of saying that whole big name, Wall Street reform, how is Wall Street going to be reformed? I can answer that question, too. And the consumer, in Title 10 of Dodd-Frank was created, you mentioned the CFPB. It's hard for me to remember those letters, alphabet soup, ATR, QM, RESPA, TILA, GFE. So I think it stands for either chicken fried peanut butter or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
It could be chicken fried. I could go with that.
It could. The CFPB is over everything that's either a product or service for a consumer. Student loans, car loans, credit bureaus, mortgages. It doesn't matter. If it's a consumer product or service, the CFPB is over it. And now the CFPB has this massive, massive power. They're auditing the credit bureaus. They're making sure that those scores are correct because that score pertains to everything else, credit cards, car loans, mortgages, and it doesn't matter.
Any idea on how many people operate this CFPB? That's a wide scope of services.
I was at the CFPB last month. They are in Washington, D.C., less than a half a block away from the White House. They have a couple of thousand people. And it isn't just individuals that are housed in the Washington, D.C. office, but they have also individuals spread out all over the country. 2 weeks ago, I was in San Francisco with Edwin Chow, who's the regional director of the CFPB, talking about some of these changes to the audience in the San Francisco area.
That's a big task to oversee. There, on almost every credit report that I see, I think it's over 80% of credit reports have some kind of error.
And the stats bear you out. That's right.
Overseeing that, overseeing all the mortgage rules with qualified mortgage and ability to repay. That's quite the task that they have. I'm not going to name a company, but I heard that a local Utah company recently got a $10 million fine.
Yes, sir. I know who you're talking about. Yep.
So they're not playing games.
Oh, no, sir. No, sir.
They mean business.
They went after Discover Card, American Express. They've audited the credit bureaus. Your stats, about 80% of people's files have some error in them, is correct. We're actually in our continuing education classes to loan officers actually talking about the Fair Credit Reporting Act and credit scores and what can you do to have a higher credit score. It's really fun to see all of the changes going on with the CFPB, even down to fees on your checking account. They're just trying to do the job of protecting the consumer. Is that a bad thing? No. Is it a good thing? Well, we have a bunch of new regulations on top of what we used to do in the past, and that could be a problem.
Yeah, I've noticed one of the rules as a loan originator in this QM rule is a 3% compensation cap on front-end mortgage fees. So there's I know there's certain fee caps with the QM rule. And so I think that's good for consumers, maybe lowering the fees, but then it also adds another layer of bureaucracy, maybe some more mortgage forms that need to be filled out, and maybe more tax dollars going towards operating this CFPB.
I like what you're saying, meaning that 3% cap on fees and costs, that's part of QM. If you don't have or you charge more than that 3%, it would not be a QM loan. And lenders want to write a QM loan for the protection, which is a safe harbor, meaning the lenders aren't really going to be sued. When you talked about the forms, do you know, and you're going to be the first one in Utah to say this, or your listeners are going to be the first in Utah to hear this, the good faith estimate is dead. Beginning next year, there will no longer be a document called a good faith estimate. For the realtors that may be listening to the show as well, and the title folks, there is no longer a settlement statement or a HUD-1. Those documents are gone. The good faith estimate and the truth in lending disclosure document are going to be combined into a new form called the loan estimate. And the HUD-1, it's going to be called the closing disclosure. And are these things different? Oh, my goodness. They're going to need to talk to professionals like you to get up to speed as to what changed. Is it good? Is it bad? They're going to have to visit with folks like you.
Well, there's one thing you can always count on in the real estate and mortgage industry, and that's change.
That's right.
Every year there's change. There's different forms. There's new forms and different way of doing things. How long have the good faith estimate and the HUD-1 been around?
Since 1974.
Okay.
So the last time they were updated or amended was in January of 2012. So on August 1, 2015, the new forms will come out. And the new forms are for everybody. Bank, credit union, loan officer, doesn't matter where. Title people, real estate, it changes for everybody on August 1, 2015.
I don't know about you, but one thing I don't really like about the current good faith estimate is it doesn't show a cash due from borrower, so it doesn't really give the borrower an idea of how much cash is due at closing. And it also doesn't show appropriate credits. So like if there's a credit from the seller or something being paid by the seller, it doesn't really reflect that on there. So there's a lot of explaining that we have to do as mortgage professionals to our customers. Do you know if the new forms are going to have any of those aspects?
The new forms will have those. And because of the Paperwork Reduction Act, we will actually have more pages to our forms, than we've had in the past. So the good faith is expanding in this new loan estimate, and the HUD one is also expanding to multiple pages. It's going to go to 5 pages.
This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. Stay with us. We'll continue our conversation with David Luna on the other side of the break, and we will be right back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. We've got David Luna continuing our conversation. Let's look a little bit more into that crystal ball that you've got plugged in. What do you see interest rates doing over the next year and then maybe over the next couple of years?
Okay. So that everybody understands what the Fed wanted to do, and when I say Feds, I mean Federal Reserve. When you had Dr. Ben Bernanke, they were buying $85 billion, 85 with a B, billion dollars a month in bonds to keep interest rates artificially, temporarily low. Dr. Bernanke is not there anymore. You have a new Fed chair, and this young lady, Janet Yellen, is kind of recently, and I mean like real recently, has taken over the helm of the Federal Reserve. She's dropped it from 85 million. It's been dropping 10 billion again per month to now in the future it's going to be 55 billion, which is going to cause interest rates to go up. But the nervousness in the economy is she also going to raise interest rates? And she recently said no. You've got great interest rates. You've got underwriting guidelines that are loosening up. You have credit scores that are dropping. You've got homes appreciating. I don't know if you're a golfer, but it is teed up for your listeners. If they haven't thought about it, they should think about doing it now. I really wouldn't wait. A year, 2, 3 years from now, you would have missed it. Rates are going to continue to go up. Property appreciation is going to continue to go up. If they're even close to thinking about doing it, they should do it now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've seen people like you described. You have this perfectly teed up transaction waiting to happen, a home ready to buy, but you have people that sit on the fence and don't pull the trigger, and then prices go up, rates go up, and you kind of missed your window of opportunity. So again, if you're looking to buy or even refinance, there might still be people that have rates in the 5s and 6s. If you're looking to buy or refinance, again, text us at 801-674-9995. Text the word refinance or purchase to 801-674-9995. We're talking with David Luna. Before we leave here and move on to our next part of the show, any advice for realtors, for listeners, for anyone out there about mortgage or real estate? Any parting wisdom? Make sure you're dealing with a professional. I mean, do your check. Everybody needs to be licensed. And what that means is make sure that they're, ask the individual, just like your previous individual, a certified master individual, right? There's certain levels of education or testing or continuing education. Make sure the person that you're talking to is up to date on their education. I mean, that you're dealing with a true professional. That's what I would counsel your listeners to do. Thanks for reiterating that point. We try to make that point every week on this show. We try to bring in the people in our local community that are the best of the best. people that know what they're doing, people that are professionals, that are masters, that are certified, people that you can trust, and we can kind of do the shopping and the homework for you. We want to be your resource here on this station, people that you can completely trust with these big transactions.
It's the biggest transaction they'll have in their entire life,
Exactly.
their home.
Exactly. $250,000 and even $100,000 up to $1 million. This is one of the biggest transactions you'll ever make, and you need to trust it with professionals. Thanks again, David, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you on the show with us, and maybe you can join us again in the future.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on into our open house segment. We've got 6 open houses that we'd like to share with you today. The first open house is in Murray at 1099 East, 5690 South in Cottonwood Acres. That home is listed for $232,000, and it is open on Saturday from 2:30 to 4:30. Our next open house is located at 3121 South, 400 East in Bountiful, and that home is listed for $284,398. Great home, open on Saturday from 11 to 1. The next home we've got is located in West Jordan at 4903 West, Copper Canyon Way. That home is listed for $329,900 and is open on Saturday from 12 to 2. If you have any more questions or want any details about these open houses, text the words open house to 801-674-9995, or just give us a call at that number and we can walk you through those homes or give you more details. Now is time for our free lunch giveaway. If you stayed with us, you get to reap the benefits of this free lunch giveaway. Got a very special free lunch for you today. I have some friends that run a business called Saturday's Waffle, and it's a local company, 2 guys, Mike Law and Richard Larson. They run a waffle truck. It's open on Saturday morning. So if you're listening to this show, you could head over and drive over and get a waffle at the same time. It's a waffle truck. It's located in the Dans. If you're going, it's kind of over by Mill Creek. If you take the 215, I think it's the 3900 South exit. There's a Dans there and a big shopping market. They're in that parking lot there. They run a truck, and there's always a line of 50 or 60 people there. They've got these Belgian waffles that have some of the most creative and delicious toppings. If you've never tried it, you've got to go check out Saturday's Waffle. Text the word free lunch or free breakfast to 801-674-9995. We'll hook you up with a free lunch or free breakfast to Saturday's Waffle. I think they have a website too. If you want me to get you their website, again, text the word free lunch or free breakfast to 801-674-9995. They're close friends of mine and run a great operation over there. You should go check them out. We've got 3 more open houses for you here that we'd like to share. Hopefully I don't get mixed up. We've got another open house at 1118 East, Castle Rock Road, and that's in Sandy in the Ridgeview Estates. That home is listed for $334,900 and is open on Saturday from 11 to 2. So, hey, you can go grab a waffle and go check out one of these open houses. Got another open house on 4526 South, Crest Oak Circle. That's in Salt Lake City, listed for $639,900. That home is open from 2 to 4 p.m. on Saturday. And our last open house of the day is in Salt Lake City in Spring Glen. That is at 4801 East Skycrest Park Cove. That's up Immigration Canyon. That home is listed for $750,000 and is open on Sunday from 12 to 2. Again, if you want more details or if you have any questions about these open houses or would like to schedule a time to see one, call or text 801-674-9995. Again, text the word open house to 801-674-9995. We'd be happy to answer any questions for you or help get you through those homes or give you more details. To end the show, I wanted to talk briefly about short sales. There's still might be some people that are underwater or have questions about what a short sale is or if it's a good idea, or maybe even looking into doing a strategic short sale. You might have purchased right at the peak of the market, and you still might not have any equity or might be a little upside down on your property. And we're here as your local real estate professionals and advocates to give you a free analysis of the equity in your home, of how much it's worth, to let you know that if a short sale might be right for you. A short sale can be a great tool, especially if you purchased a home at the peak of the market, if you've had a job loss. There's a number of reasons where a short sale might be a good tool for you, and I'd love to discuss your options with you if you have any questions about a short sale. Again, my number is 801-674-9995. For those people that don't know what a short sale is, basically it's where you owe more than your home is worth, and the lender, the current lien holder that has your mortgage, is willing to accept less than what's owed. So let's say, for example, you owe $300,000 on your home, and your home might only be worth $250,000. There's a $50,000 differential, and maybe even more after you look at realtor fees and closing costs and things like that. So if you owe $300,000, your home's worth $250,000, you can sell it, and I, as a real estate professional, can help negotiate to get the bank to take less and get that debt settled for less and be able to start you on a better path financially. A little known fact about short sale: you can do a conventional loan 2 years after you complete a short sale. If you have a 20% down payment, you can do a conventional loan just 2 years after, and you can do an FHA loan 3 years after a short sale. So it can be a good tool. I don't advocate it all the time, but it's case by case, and I'd be happy to look at your situation. We've had such a great show today, such amazing professionals that joined us with Rickard and David Luna. A special thanks to them. We've got an amazing show planned for you next week. We've got an estate planner and a retirement planner coming on. Thank you so much for joining us. Really, we're trying to make this a local show that you can trust, real estate and financial advice that you can take to the bank. Thank you for tuning in, and please join us next week on the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show. This is 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. We'll see you next week.
The sky was red, fire on the mountains.